Everybody prepares for life, but nobody prepares for death. But the truth is, the way you live decides what happens after you die. And what you carry when you die decides whether you come back or become free. Namaste. You see, everybody drops their body one day. Willingly, unwillingly, or suddenly. Nobody escapes that moment. But we don't like to talk about it because we are attached to life, attached to people, attached to our story, attached to our identity. So when someone talks about death, people say, that's a very grim way of looking at life. But I want to suggest something different. If you understand what happens when the body is gone, you will know how to live properly now. And if you live properly now, you don't have to come back and do this again and again. You can be free in one shot. So, stay with me because this is important. Today, we're going to talk about something very deep. We're going to talk about what happens when the body is gone. What goes and what stays. According to yogic science and Vedic wisdom, we are going to talk about detachment, what it really means, different types of attachment, why liberation is it's only possible for a detached mind. We are also going to talk about the ethereal body and the causal body, and how they continue even after the physical body is dropped. So, please stay with me, because you're going to need this knowledge. And not when you're 90 years old or when you're sick. You need this knowledge now, while you are alive and conscious and able to change. Now, people will ask you this: why should I take this seriously? Science has not proven this. That's the usual question. And my answer is this: if you want to understand the physical world, listen to physical scientists. If you want to understand consciousness, listen to the greatest spiritual scientist who ever lived. The yogis, the rishis, the sages of the Vedas. These were not people who just believed things. These were people who experimented with consciousness itself. They spent years, decades, lifetimes studying the mind, studying consciousness, studying what happens when you go beyond the body. They were able to leave the body at will, come back, or enter another body. Parakaya Pravarshya, casting of the body and re-entering another or the same body at will. They described what they saw, described what remains after death. This is a science, but an inner science. And like any science, it requires practice and experience. So let's start with something simple. According to Vedic wisdom, you're not just one body. You have three bodies: physical body, subtle body or ethereal body, and causal body. The physical body is what you can touch. This body will go back to earth, dust to dust, ashes to ashes. This body does not go with you, but the subtle body does go with you. In Sanskrit, it's called Sukshma Sharira, subtle body. And this subtle body is made of your mind, your intellect, your ego, and your prana, your life energy. And most importantly, it's made up of your impressions, your habits, your desires, your fears, your attachments, your addictions, your likes and dislikes, your emotional bonds. Everything you are psychologically is stored in the subtle body. And when the physical body dies, the subtle body separates from the physical body. And it continues to exist. That's why it's called ethereal, ethereal, real to the ether. Still real, but not physical. And here's something very important to understand. The ethereal body still looks like you. Same shape, same form, same face even, for some time. Because the subtle body is shaped by your mind, shaped by your self-image, by your attachment, shaped by your identity. So when people say they saw a spirit, a ghost, or a departed person, in many traditions, they are talking about the subtle body. Because the subtle body does not immediately disappear. it continues. Now, imagine something. If you leave the physical body, but your desires are still there, your anger is still there, your attachments are still there, your addictions are still there, and your love is still there, your hatred is still there, your unfinished business is still there. But now, you don't have a physical body to act on these desires. And that creates frustration, deep frustration. Because the mind wants to act, but there's no body. So what happens? According to Vedic wisdom, this subtle body is pulled toward another physical body because it needs a body to express its desires and its karma. This is called reincarnation, a continuation of unfinished tendencies. Now we go one layer deeper. The causal body. In Sanskrit, we call it karana sharira. This is one layer deeper to the one before that. This is where your deepest karmic seeds are stored. Not just your habits, but the very blueprint of your tendencies. This is what carries from life to life. This is why two children are born in the same house, same parents, same environment, but completely different personalities. Because they are not starting from zero. They are continuing from before. Now we come to the most important part of this entire discussion. Detachment. Why is detachment so important? Because attachment is what keeps the subtle body alive. Attachment is what keeps the causal body active. Attachment is what pulls you back into physical existence. Now listen carefully. Attachment is not just loving someone. Attachment is not just having a family. Attachment is not just having money or a house, a career. Attachment is mental dependence. Attachment is when your mind is tied to something. You're attached to your children, attached to your spouse, to your friends, your enemies. Yes, attachment to enemies. You are attached to people who hurt you because you keep them in your mind. You replay the story. You replay the anger. You replay the argument. You replay the injustice. You are attached through hate, and you're attached through love as well. Both are attachments, because both occupy your consciousness. And whatever occupies your consciousness, you carry with you after death. Imagine that. You don't leave with your house. You don't leave with your money. You don't leave with your body. You leave with your mind. So, what is detachment then? Detachment does not mean that you stop loving people. Detachment does not mean that you run away from life. Detachment means you participate in life, but you're not mentally bound. You love, but you don't cling. You work, but your identity is not your work. You help people, but you don't control them. You live in the world, but the world does not live inside your mind. That is detachment. And only a detached mind can be free. Because when the body drops, a detached mind does not panic at that time. A detached mind does not cling. A detached mind does not search for another body. A detached mind can dissolve the subtle body. And when the subtle body dissolves and the causal body dissolves, what remains? Pure consciousness. And that state is called moksha, liberation, freedom from birth, freedom from death, freedom from suffering, freedom from physical existence, freedom, period. Now, you may ask, how do I start? How do I even begin to experience this? Detachment. The sages gave many practices, but I'll give you one simple practice. A powerful yogic practice called Shanmukhi Mudra. It means closing the six gates of your consciousness. Your eyes, your ear, your nose, your mouth. When you close the sensory gates, your awareness turns inward. This is called pratyahara, withdrawal of senses. When senses withdraw, mind becomes quiet. When mind becomes quiet, you begin to experience the inner world. Let me just show you how to do this briefly. It's called sealing the senses. Take both your thumb, gently close the ears at the cartilage. Then, index finger rests lightly over closed eyes. Middle finger placed on the side of the nose, not completely closed. Ring finger rests above the upper lip. And your little finger, bottom of the lips. The practice is to inhale, then on exhale, press the fingers gently to close the gates. Or you can do a breathing called Brahmi breathing or bee breath to enhance the inward focus. And do this for at least 9 times a day. 9 breaths a day. At first, it will feel strange. This practice, dark, silent, awkward. But if you practice again and again, consistently, you will begin to feel that you are not the body, that you are not even the mind. You are the awareness behind both. And once you experience this, detachment becomes natural. You don't have to force it. It comes naturally. Because you realize that you were never just a body. So, the takeaway is this. If you want a fulfilled life, learn detachment. If you want a peaceful death, learn detachment. If you want freedom after death, learn detachment. Because in the end, you cannot take anything with you except your mind. So prepare your mind now, not when you're old, not when you're sick. Now, the real question is not what happens when I die. The real question is, what will I be carrying when I die? That is what decides everything. Namaste.